I once watched a man pull up to a valet stand in a $400,000 Ferrari, and the most interesting thing wasn't the car, it was what happened next. The valet, a kid maybe 20 years old, took the keys with the kind of reverence you'd reserve for holding a newborn. But here's what struck me. He wasn't looking at the driver, not once. His eyes were glued to the steering wheel, imagining himself behind it. The owner, meanwhile, stood there waiting for recognition that never came. He'd spent the price of a house to become invisible. This is the paradox no one talks about. We buy expensive things believing they'll make us look rich, but they often make us look poorer than we are. Not because people judge us harshly, but because they don't judge us at all. They're too busy imagining themselves with our stuff. In 1929, a shoe-shine boy gave Joseph Kennedy a stock tip. Kennedy, father of the future president, sold everything that day. Not because the tip was bad, but because he realized something profound. When shoe-shine boys are giving stock advice, everyone thinks they're players. And when everyone thinks they're players, the game is already over. The crash came 3 months later. 25,000 banks failed. Unemployment hit 25%. But here's what history forgets. The people who lost the most weren't the poor. They had nothing to lose. It was the ones who'd leveraged everything to look wealthy, buying cars on installment plans, homes with balloon mortgages, suits they couldn't afford. They confused looking rich with being rich, and the difference destroyed them. I think about this whenever I see someone driving a car that costs more than the median American income. Not because I judge them, I don't know their situation, but because I know the psychology at work, and it's the same psychology that's been destroying wealth for centuries. There was a Roman emperor named Caligula who once built a temporary floating bridge across the Bay of Naples, about 3 miles long, just so he could ride his horse across it wearing Alexander the Great's breastplate. The bridge cost more than feeding Rome for a year. He thought it would make him look powerful. Instead, his own guards assassinated him 18 months later. They didn't see power. They saw waste. They saw weakness disguised as strength. Fast forward 2,000 years. I know a surgeon who makes $800,000 a year and drives a 10-year-old Honda Accord. I know a real estate agent who makes $80,000 and leases a new BMW every 3 years. Guess which one sleeps better at night? Guess which one could survive a year without income? But more importantly, guess which one people assume is more successful when they see them at a stoplight? You'd think it's the BMW driver. You'd be wrong, because no one is looking at the driver at all. This is what I call the man in the car paradox, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see someone in a Lamborghini, you don't think, that person is amazing. You think, I would be amazing in that car. The owner might as well be a ghost. They've paid $500,000 to become a prop in someone else's fantasy. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't about cars. It's about everything we buy to signal something to others. The watch that costs more than a car. The house with rooms we never use. The first-class ticket when coach gets there at the same time. We're all playing a game where we think we're the main character, but we're actually just extras in everyone else's mental movie. I once read about a study where researchers asked people to estimate the wealth of strangers based on what they drove. The results were hilarious and tragic. People consistently overestimated the wealth of those driving luxury cars and underestimated the wealth of those driving ordinary ones. But when they dug deeper, they found something else. The correlation between car value and net worth was actually negative for cars. Over $50,000. The more expensive the car, the more likely the driver was to have a negative net worth. They'd borrowed from their future to impress people in the present, except those people weren't even paying attention. What is your biggest financial fear? Think about it for a moment. Is it running out of money? Is it looking unsuccessful? Is it judgment from others? Whatever it is, I'd bet it's connected to this paradox in some way. We fear looking poor more than being poor. We fear judgment. That isn't even happening. The Great Depression taught us something we keep forgetting. When the music stopped in 1929, it wasn't just about stock prices. It was about social proof. Everyone doing what everyone else was doing because everyone else was doing it. They bought things they couldn't afford because not buying them meant admitting you couldn't afford them. The appearance of wealth became more important than wealth itself, until the appearance was all that was left. there was a banker named Ferdinand Pecora who investigated the crash. He found something that sounds familiar today. The richest-looking people were often the most leveraged. J.P. Morgan Jr., the face of American wealth, had paid no income taxes for 3 years through legal loopholes. His bank's executives had borrowed millions from their own institution to speculate on stocks. They looked untouchable. They were actually dancing on a wire. But here's where the logic breaks down, and this is what most people miss. The problem isn't buying nice things. The problem is buying them for the wrong reason. If you buy a Ferrari because you love driving and you can afford it without stress, beautiful. But if you buy it thinking it will change how others see you, you're paying $400,000 to learn that no one cares as much as you think they do. I know a billionaire who wears the same outfit every day, jeans and a black t-shirt. Not because he's trying to be modest, but because he realized something. The people worth impressing don't need to be impressed. They're too focused on their own work. And the people who are impressed by stuff, their opinion won't change your life. It's a game where winning means not playing. The Roman historian Tacitus wrote about this 2,000 years ago. He noticed that the Germanic tribes, despite being considered barbarians by Rome, were often wealthier per capita than Roman citizens. Why? Because they didn't waste resources on appearances. They didn't build monuments to themselves. They didn't need to look rich because being rich was enough. Rome fell in part because it spent more on looking powerful than being powerful. This connects to something deeper about human nature. We're social animals. We can't help but care what others think. It's wired into our DNA from millions of years of evolution when being cast out from the tribe meant death. But modern society has hacked this instinct against us. We're still afraid of being cast out, but now the tribe is everyone and no one. We're performing for an audience that doesn't exist. I remember reading about Howard Hughes, who died one of the richest men in the world. Toward the end of his life, he lived in hotel penthouses, never going outside, eating the same meal every day, watching the same movie over and over. He had everything money could buy and lived like a prisoner. The things he'd accumulated to impress others had become a wall between him and the world. He'd won the game and lost everything else. But here's what I find fascinating. The people who seem most immune to this paradox aren't monks or minimalists. They're people who found something more interesting than status. Warren Buffett still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500, not because he's cheap, but because moving would require effort he'd rather spend reading annual reports. He's too busy building wealth to perform wealth. The psychological trap we fall into is thinking that respect is something you can buy. But respect is like trust. It's earned in drops and lost in buckets. You can't purchase it any more than you can purchase friendship or love. The expensive watch might start a conversation, but it won't make the conversation meaningful. The luxury car might turn heads, but it won't turn those heads into relationships that matter. I think about something Charlie Munger once said. The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. He was talking about investing, but it applies to everything. Every dollar spent on appearance is a dollar not compounding. Every hour spent maintaining an image is an hour not spent building something real. The interruptions we create trying to look successful prevent us from becoming successful. There's a story about John D. Rockefeller, who was once the richest man in the world. A reporter asked him, "How much money is enough?" He replied, "Just a little bit more." People quote this as evidence of greed, but I think they miss the point. Rockefeller lived simply. He gave away more than half his wealth. What he understood was that the game never ends because we're not really playing against others. We're playing against ourselves, against our own insecurity, against our fear of being seen as we really are. This is why buying luxury to impress others is a form of psychological quicksand. The more you struggle to climb out, the deeper you sink. You buy the car to look successful, but now you need the watch to match the car. Then the clothes to match the watch, then the house to park the car. Each purchase requires another to maintain the illusion until you're not living your life, you're curating it. The solution isn't to live in poverty or deny yourself pleasures. It's to understand the real exchange rate. When you buy something for status, you're not trading money for goods. You're trading money for the hope that others will think something about you that they're not actually thinking because they're too busy worrying what you think about them. It's a circular firing squad of insecurity. But here's the shift in perspective that changes everything. Instead of asking, "What will others think if I buy this?" ask, "What will I think of myself if I buy this?" Instead of optimizing for appearance, optimize for peace of mind. Instead of trying to look wealthy, focus on becoming wealthy, not just in money, but in time, relationships, experiences, knowledge. The most powerful financial decision you can make isn't about what to buy or not buy. It's recognizing that the audience you're performing for is mostly imaginary. The people who matter don't care about your car. The people who care about your car don't matter. Once you internalize this, something magical happens. You stop playing defense against other people's imaginary judgments and start playing offense for your own actual life. I know a couple who sold their massive house and moved into a modest apartment, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They realized they were spending 20 hours a week maintaining space they didn't use, for guests who never came, to impress people they didn't even like. Now they travel 4 months a year. They've traded the appearance of wealth for the experience of wealth. Their friends think they've downsized. They think they've upsized their life. This is what compound interest really means, not just in finance, but in life. Every decision compounds. Save money instead of spending it on status, and it compounds into wealth. But more importantly, save mental energy instead of spending it on appearance, and it compounds into clarity. Save time instead of spending it on maintenance, and it compounds into freedom. The man in the car paradox reveals something profound. We're all cosplaying as the person we think we should be, forgetting that everyone else is too busy with their own costume to notice ours. The tragedy isn't that we can't afford luxury. It's that we sacrifice so much for an audience that exists only in our heads. If you want to be truly countercultural in modern society, don't rebel with pink hair or radical politics. Rebel by refusing to play the status game. Drive the reliable car. Wear the comfortable clothes. Live in the sufficient house. Not because you're sacrificing, but because you've found something more valuable than looking rich. Being free. The real luxury isn't the Ferrari. It's not caring whether anyone sees you in one. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you could buy it, but choosing not to. Not from constraint, but from wisdom. It's understanding that true wealth is measured not by what you can afford to buy, but by what you can afford to ignore. And if this resonates with you, if you're tired of playing games where everyone loses, consider subscribing, not because I need the validation, but because the most valuable thing we can compound isn't money, it's wisdom. And wisdom, unlike luxury goods, actually becomes more valuable when shared. The ancient Stoics knew this. The Depression-era survivors knew this. And deep down, behind all the noise and performance, you know it too. The question isn't whether you'll stop playing the game. The question is when you'll realize the game has been playing you.